What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you about Polestar. It's been a while since I've covered Polestar, so I want to go over a lot of the things that's been coming out from the company, what the data points are saying, and where I see things going from here. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate it. And with that said, let's get right to it. So currently it is down 1.24%, a lot of volatility. So 274 is the low, 282 is the high. When it comes down to volume, 1.2 million shares being traded, 2.7 is the average, so that is relatively low. And even if you look over the last week, the volume has just been dropping, which is kind of random. At the time of doing this video, no news today, no SEC filings, although there has been a lot of things coming out that I'll quickly share with you. And I have been really monitoring Polestar, even though I haven't been covering it as much as I once was. I think at this stage, I'm just kind of discouraged. I'm going to touch on that in a second, but I did notice when they submitted the shelf offering, the mixed shelf offering, like it didn't really do that much of damage. I thought like, oh damn, this was going to be horrible. But based on this, it caused a pretty significant sell-off to around 260, but it got bought up very fast. So it's kind of weird, even though I did say this on the Q1 earnings that they are going to need to dilute probably by the tail end of Q3, which is very, very close to now, but it's kind of interesting the fact that it did get bought up. And in comparison to a lot of other growth stocks and EV plays, Polestar's kind of doing okay. Take that with a grain of salt, of course. I'm going to touch on a lot more over and above that. But when it comes down to the mixed shelf offering, it is almost about 1 billion, and that's definitely a pretty substantial amount. I do believe that they have 3 years to fulfill this, so that's something just to keep in mind. Other than that though, as far as PR, there was this that was announced. So on November the 9th, they're going to be doing a full model lineup in LA, and I feel like a lot of EVs are trying to target California, especially I think they're a little bit more further advanced for EVs. So I think naturally a lot of EVs just gravitate towards there. So I think this might be a fairly good thing, good for PR and so forth. But other than that though, on November the 8th, so one day prior, that is when they did announce their actual earnings. So they talked on their actual deliveries on for Q3, which is up 50% from the year prior. And it does expect higher margins for the remainder of 2023. But they did reiterate their target of 60 to 70,000 by the end of the year. They delivered 13,900 vehicles in Q3, which this is where it is that 50% growth. And ultimately for 2023, 41,700 vehicles. So they definitely do need to hit a pretty good home run for Q4. And like I said, November the 8th after hours, that is when their earnings is going to be. So I'm going to make sure I live stream that, even though I haven't really been covering it as much as I have been at one time. And the reason why is a lot of people and institutions oddly are just avoiding Polestar. And that's something that's always puzzled me. And I still don't know the answer to why. Because when it comes down to the PS ratio, this is a very good way to determine if companies are at a discount or not, especially to what they actually offer for sales. So right now, the PS ratio on Polestar is 2.2. The future is 1.6. In comparison, for instance, Lucid is 12.5x. Rivian is, I think it's 6.5 or 7. So in theory, if Polestar is to take the same evaluation as Lucid, which right now Polestar just blows Lucid out of the water as far as production numbers and delivery numbers. But when it comes down to Polestar's fair price in comparison to that 12x, Polestar would be at like above $10. But it is not, because there's just a lack of buyers. Nobody wants to buy Polestar for some reason. Even the latest round of 13Fs, it shows a lot of institutions just getting out completely. It makes no sense whatsoever. And I feel like that's just very discouraging. And I didn't want to keep saying every single video, but you know what? I like Polestar, it's good, has a good product, but the stock price goes down. Like it's very discouraging. And even though on my last video, I did state, I think it was more so around here, I did say that most likely based on the technicals, it was going to go down to $2, and it did come very, very close to that. But at this stage, though, it's still, nothing has changed. On the technicals, it seems to have stabilized a little bit, so it is staying in the higher percentile of the Bollinger Band, and a couple other things that I'll touch on in a second. But I want to start by going over this. So the latest Morningstar report. Now, once again, a lot of people like to determine this and use this as a good valuation because it only looks at assets for Polestar. So based on their assets, it does show $4.6 being the fair market value. Take that with a grain of salt as well. Keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. You guys always do your own due diligence. When it comes down to any analyst ratings, there hasn't been any updates, looks like since last month. Dan Levy, who is from Barclays, who does have a 44% success rating, did downgrade Polestar to a $3 price target. So similarly, like I said, just institutions, analysts just do not like Polestar whatsoever. On a side note, if you are looking for a lot of good compiled information, analyst ratings, Morningstar reports, short information, take a look at Interactive Brokers. All of this information could be completely free. Just click on the link in the description below and also the comments, I guess. And yeah, definitely sign up. It has a lot of good information that you can use to better your investing. But moving on from here, I'll give you an overview of some of the options data and what that is saying. As it stands, around $4,116 in calls being purchased versus $5,400 in puts. So based on this, oddly enough, people are anticipating for it to kind of trend down a little bit. And then as well, just looking over, let's say for instance, the last 30 days with Polestar, around $2.25 million in calls being purchased versus $3.45 million in puts. And so when it comes down to Polestar, it doesn't matter the fact that it's gone down so much. People are still anticipating for it to still go down, which is very, very weird. And like I said, it just makes no sense whatsoever. As far as big money getting in, these are some of the transactions that have occurred on the secondary market over $100,000. So last transaction being, looks like October the 11th, and that was for $162,000. So coincidentally around that same time of the shelf offering, and based on the bid and the ask, it was a buy. So that's kind of a good thing. That's probably why it did get bought up so fast. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the dark pool over $100,000. The last being on September the 29th for 198. When it comes down to dark pool, it is linked to shorting. So as you can see, short score is currently 0. So that's obviously glitching right now. Utilization is 98.47. And based on this right here, it does indicate that there's around 21.13 million shares overall being shorted. And shorts as it stands right now are returning 67,000 shares. And through the Interactive Broker short availability, it does show that there's around 100,000 shares available to be shorted. Cost to borrow average has gone up quite a lot since my last update. So 68.22% is that average, a little bit lower than yesterday, which yesterday it does show it was around 233%. That is the average. The max is currently 116.22%, and that was a high of 269 yesterday. So definitely some interesting things could come, especially based on maybe their upcoming earnings right here, which is, like I said, November the 8th after hours. So let me know your thoughts on Polestar. Based on a lot of this information, it is kind of stabilizing. So it wasn't as negative as it once was when I was frequently covering it, but based on the technicals, I'll quickly touch on that. So it is still higher percentile of the Bollinger Band, like I already mentioned, and with it currently at $2.80, it is between this P and this R1. So $3.25 is a very strong resistance. $2.75 is a very strong support, which it kind of did bounce off of today. And like I said, in comparison, Polestar is not doing too bad. So a lot of the other growth stocks are between this S2 and this S1, or in some cases S1 and the pivot. So Polestar is doing not bad. Let me know your thoughts on Polestar. Give yourself a shout out as well if you've been buying, selling, holding Polestar, or what you've been doing overall. And do you think that this upcoming earnings is going to be good or bad? Like, what's your viewpoint? I know based on the last couple of earnings, it just has lacked the drive coming from management. It still seems a little bit more, I guess, not confident on what they are doing ultimately, which I think is something they definitely do need to improve on. So let me know your thoughts on all of this. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing I just wanted to share with you, take advantage of this promo with Moomoo. Link in the description below and also the comments. Sign up for a free account, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock could be valued up to $2,000. So this is an amazing deal, only up until October the 20th. Link in the description below and also the comments. With that said, I appreciate all of you watching, and let's all make a lot of money on Polestar.